I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond. James Bond.
Who is the lucky brunette?
Last name Beeswax, first name Nunia.
Oh, my third wife is biracial.
It's simple, really. First we...
What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?
Sir?
The most you ever lost on a coin toss.
It's the Al Travis Show, one of our faves. Set of guests coming up now. Steve Fink and Senator Nick Frentz. Love having these guys on. Gentlemen, thanks for being here. I appreciate you taking some time on a Monday.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al. Good to
You
see
bet.
you both.
This it's an eclectic set of questions I've got for you guys today because at first I thought this would be bigger than it was, and maybe I'm just mistaken. On Friday, we found out that there are at least $20 million in 2024 that was given to non-profit organizations. And I'm at the golf course Saturday with what I think are some relatively smart guys, and they just seem to brush it off. Oh, is that another one? Is that a different fraud thing? And I said, yeah, it's different now. We were sending checks to non-profits. And they're like, well, it was just $20 million. Steve, I start with you. Are we to the point where it's just so much of that, people can't keep track? And if the number isn't in the billions, I guess we don't care. For folks who don't know, we found that the state was sending checks to nonprofits, but the nonprofits weren't even registered with the state of Minnesota. It's like, what was that? The Human Fund? George Costanza.
Seinfeld.
Seinfeld. He just came up with a Human Fund and started sending checks. Where are we at on this, Steve? Is it just too much? Or are we just tired of it?
I think there is some just burnout. It's at some point it's another issue. It's another fraud, and I think there people are burned out. You can only pile on that so deep, and I don't think it's not that people don't care. It's just tell me something that I don't already know, and so I think it's just another example that people don't like, upset about, but I don't know if anything particular is going to add to the pile, unless it's really another real egregious one. I think feeding the futures was so obviously outrageous that really got people fired up.
See, and Senator Frentz, what I get from Steve is almost that same apoplectic feeling I had with my golf guys. What difference does it make anymore? It's just one more. The number of these things that we've found in the last 2 years is almost striking. Steve says, the number was huge with feeding our futures, which $250 million is a lot of money. I get you. But it's almost all the same as far as how you take it from Minnesota. You say you're a business, you say you have clients, you send in names, and we just send checks. This one with me is they were sending to checks that businesses weren't even businesses. I presume your law firm and Steve's, my business, we're registered with the state of Minnesota. You gotta, right? Evidently you don't. Your thoughts on this last one?
Well, first of all, it's part of a larger conversation. As you may have seen earlier this year, to Steve's point about fatigue, I believe it was Pennsylvania. They caught a group stealing $14 billion, and they had already stolen $1 billion. So I think the nation's going to have to ask, a nation that doesn't like bureaucracy, how much do you want to let things slide? Feeding our future was an example of the federal government saying, you don't need these safety checks, in which a bunch of thieves said, if you don't need those, we're going to steal. And Florida, as you know, Al, has had Medicare fraud, billions and billions. So I think the country's going to have to ask, if we can't trust 3 to 5% of the people, what does that mean for the rest of us, the other 95%? I know our law firms are registered. I was honestly more concerned about the federal government canceling a $464 million project for energy transmission in Minnesota, costing thousands of jobs. But that's for the next topic on the Al Travis Show, I'm sure.
Well, we can discuss it. You guys are here from the state of Minnesota. You talk much federal stuff. We can go into it if you don't mind. As I understand the continuing resolution, and this is my simpleton play on this. This is the same continuing resolution all of these same people have voted on 13 times prior to plan. This is like early Biden business that we've been going on for me, I'm mad at it. Get your business done. Put the 12 appropriations bill done. Let's get to talking serious instead of this kicking it down the road. But all of a sudden we're kicking it down the road like, well, we're not going to do that anymore. Trump's the president. Steve, as you understand, am I wrong here? This is the same bill we've done 13 times before.
I think that's an accurate summary of what the situation is. I also think that this worked. This type of plan worked many times in the past. I would have maybe expected if the Democrats were in charge that the Republicans would have refused to go along with it just because they need to stop the spending. There needs to be a end to this. I think in our particular situation here, I think the Democrats want additional spending, which is easy for the Republicans to say no to. But yeah, this is the same old program, as I understand, that's been going on for years, where they just kick the can down the road, never address the issue, because it's easier just to say, well, let's continue to do what we're doing, and that's what they do.
Because Senator Frentz is such an honest guy. Let me throw the question your way. How bad a mistake is it for your side, blaming you for everything, to put this into Trump's hands to then cancel all this stuff? What I mean by that is he might be closing down, firing people, getting rid of all the non-essentials and all the stuff that's scaring people. You put it in his hands when you say, well, we'll shut down the government. They had to know that was an option, and the $400 million. You know what I'm saying? Did you play your hand? Did Schumer play his hand poorly?
Well, we could have a whole nother Al Travis show on Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, but I will just give you my Steve.
I'll sign you up.
Oriented one. First of all, Steve's right. The continuing resolution is not how federal government's supposed to do budgeting. You're supposed to go through it, and that in some cases requires 60 votes in the Senate. Yep. So this reminds me a little bit of the Minnesota Senate DFL Blue Dog Coalition, who said there's some stuff we're not going to cooperate with anymore. Mm-hmm. And so for my Democrat friends, I support what they're doing right now. By the way, the Department of Energy says that these massive $7 billion cuts in energy projects, which are jobs for electricians, steel workers, carpenters, all basically in Democrat states, are unrelated to the shutdown, to which I would say, gosh, hadn't heard that a few days ago before the shutdown. And I think Americans expect people to go to work as legislators and get the job done. So this CR, continuing resolution stuff, is a bad way to do business. My brothers and sisters in the Republican Party used to scream bloody murder. We're not going to cooperate. I think most people would like to see more cooperation. On this point, beg to differ with my brother, Steve Fink. What the Democrats are saying is your reconciliation bill, the big ugly tax bill, cut $1 trillion in health care for people that don't have a lot of money so we could give tax cuts to wealthy Americans. And the Democrats right now are saying, why don't you rescind some of those rich people tax cuts, buy us some health care, and we'll vote all over the place for your CR. I know President Trump thinks that he's got the upper hand here. I'm not so sure. And I'm starting to watch carpenters, electricians, steel workers get a hold of us, say, what do you mean they're canceling this project? And to be clear, the $7 billion of energy projects that were canceled were already approved and vetted as ways to lower people's energy costs. So I pitched this to a town hall in another city last week, and I said, this move is simply going to raise your electric bills, and that's definitely not what the administration promised.
Do you want to answer that, Steve, or can I rip him a new one?
Go ahead.
See, what I don't understand about the argument there, Senator, is the idea that the Republicans don't like this CR the way it is. They want to get to a point where, I say conservative, we want it gutted. We are spending more money than we take in. This is unsustainable. So for you to say, well, we just want back something that you passed by law, the big, beautiful bill, which you call the tax, whatever the thing for buddies, whatever you want to call it, we went through that process. We voted on it. It's the new law of the land. And your side says, well, then we'll close down the government because you got to give us what we want, even if we didn't get it when we were, talking about it. That's not playing the game fair, Senator Frentz.
I totally disagree. Republicans have done the same thing. Look at the Supreme Court nomination of Merrick Garland, 200 years of history, and they said, nope, we're not going to do it. And on the passage of the bill, Republicans said, we will not have cooperation from Democrats and we don't care. Now they need some cooperation. Now they're like, why can't we get along? And I disagree too. I think Trump is miscalculating. And I mean this for your listeners, Al, who I like very much.
Oh, yeah.
Problem is the tax cuts for rich people that's in that bill, which Democrats objected to strongly, and the $3 trillion of additional debt on your kids and grandkids and my kids and grandkids and Steve's kids and new grandkids. There's no reason for this nation to run up $3 trillion of debt to give those tax cuts. The rest of the spending cuts, I think, a guy like me, I'm open to that discussion.
Steve?
Isn't the size of the tax of the debt depend on what model that you look at? It was always my understanding that the kind of the standard one is that the old
CBO.
management budget, but that they look at things very conservatively. And Don and his group were looking at it very more aggressively. And so time will tell whether, how this thing shakes out. But I don't know that these are forecasts that if we get another 9/11, all bets are off. I mean, we don't know what
or COVID. Yeah.
Hey, Al, you got to let me take this one, please.
No, absolutely. Then I'm going to slam you before we go to break. It's going to be a great deal back and forth.
One of the things Steve and I share is sort of I don't want to say fiscal conservatism, but fiscal reality. So, Steve, your point is the Congressional Budget Office, which has been good enough for both parties for 100 years, says this is going to expand the debt $3 trillion. What the Republican argument is no, if you use dynamic scoring and you forecast a little rosier picture, it won't be $3 trillion. However, I just offer you, Mr. Fink, fellow Mankato area taxpayer with me, that's exactly what the Trump administration said the first time around. They said, let us do these tax cuts. We're not going to balloon the debt. We'll grow the economy and the debt won't go up. And it went way, way up. And I think you're looking at the same thing here. I think I'd put it this way, and I think we're going to start hearing this out of some Minnesotans. Why is that tax cut for the wealthiest Americans necessary? Like, what's the good part of that in a country where the rich are getting richer compared to working men and women?
Let me throw this at you because your side plays games with that whole tax cut thing. The Republicans did not give a tax cut to the rich. The Republicans just, when the sunset of that tax, which you guys set up, you set it up to have that tax on the rich, but you set it up to sunset. It was going to be done in 2025. The Republicans didn't continue it. They said, okay, this is the law that the Dems passed, and they let it go. You're saying they cut taxes on the rich. They kept it exactly the same as the Democrats passed the law. It's kind of like with this continuing resolution. The reason people got cut from Medicare and Medicaid, which you all want back, is when you guys did the big, beautiful tax credit bill. You guys wanted to look that you're going to save money, so you took and said this sunsets on these people in 2025. And the Republicans said, great, it's sunset. We're not putting it back in. You guys set it up to stop at some point. I presume you felt you were going to probably be in charge and get to keep running it, but it isn't there. And the Republicans haven't increased anybody's tax cuts. They literally went with the Democrats' proposal. It's your budget.
No, that's not true. The bill that passed this summer, had it not passed, we would have got more tax revenue in this country from the wealthiest Americans.
Because it would have sunset, yes.
The logic of why they passed it in the first place, that's a great question we can have on the Al Travis Show, but there is no question this bill causes the state, your country, to get less revenue from rich people. So that's what the Republicans want.
And I would never understand why your people put that in there. I got to go to break. We are so far behind. We got to go to break. I promise we'll have more time on the other side. I've got him, Senator Nick Frentz and Steve Fink on the Al Travis Show.
Tired of one-sided media and divisive noise drowning out your conservative values? Take back the conversation with Braver Angels. Join a grassroots movement to restore civility and find common ground without compromising your principles. As a conservative, your voice matters. Share your perspective on issues like immigration and public health in red-blue workshops and help rebuild trust in our great nation. Be a leader in depolarizing America. Sign up for free at mn.braverangels.org. Braver Angels, where conservatives, liberals, and independents unite for a stronger republic.
You need a friend at the Capitol who knows how to get things done.
And you're in luck, because that's exactly who we are, your friends at the Capitol, and we deliver results.
At Momentum Advocacy, we bring decades of experience in lobbying, public affairs, and crisis communications.
From local nonprofits to national corporations, we help you move policy, manage your media, and make your voice heard.
We're not just seasoned pros, we're essential partners.
Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more at momentum-advocacy.com.
Dun, dun, dun.
Are you kidding me?
You know that comment you said to the radio? The thing that we got wrong?
Clearly, Brussels sprouts are the worst vegetable.
Call us and let the world know your thoughts. 855-257-7469. That's 855-ALS Show.
Stunning conversation. Don't want to cut it short. Senator, do you have anything else, Steve? Or I have a couple of quick hitters I'd like to hit you up with.
I say we move to the quick hitters. Of course, I have more to say, but let's transition.
We'll get you back on. We'll transition. This is new. I didn't know about it. I know you can't do online sports betting in Minnesota, but there's this new thing, and it's called, where is it? Futures, financial products linked to NFL games. Never heard of this. Prediction market, it's called. It's called Kalshi, Kalshi. It gets around the state gambling laws. So what you do is you're buying a product, quote unquote, that is worth more or less depending on who wins a football game. It's well outside my even understanding. It's like a Bitcoin to me. I don't get it. But are you going to put a stop to this, Senator? If we don't have sports betting, this seems really weird to me. I've never heard of it.
Well, first of all, Al, thanks for that topic. I think a lot of people do care about that. Steve and I have a local group of friends, and one of them said to me, the only thing I care about is legalizing sports betting. And the way he acts, I think he's engaged already, but please don't ask me his name. As you may recall, I'm the chief author of the Senate sports betting bill.
Yep.
And just appeared last week at the National Indian Gaming Association where they talk about it. And Kalshi and the federal regulatory ruling seems to pave the way to get around states that don't allow it. So I think Minnesota should move forward. Right now, we're having billions of dollars of illegal gambling in the state, not just on sports, but on other stuff. And the prediction markets and the sweepstakes issue, which is growing, are things where I think the state's either going to say, let these actors take it and the state and its citizens get zero out of it, or treat it like other businesses, like the Al Travis Show or like our law firms, where we pay a reasonable amount of taxes for a reasonable amount of services. Long story short, I think that's why we need to take action. I agree. There is some bipartisan opposition to the current sports betting bill, mostly on moral grounds, to which I'd say you should meet Steve's and my buddy, whose name I wouldn't say. If I said his name, it would be Brian.
All right. Steve, guess who? I didn't even know anything about this. I don't know if it would change my life at all, but all of us know somebody who's putting $5, $10 on the game, either in the pools, your fantasy football league. People do this stuff. Do we really care?
Well, I don't personally care. I'm not a gambler myself. I just never had the bug. But given all of the different things that we're allowed to participate in indulge in these days, most recently the marijuana expansion, I think it is a bit ironic that we're not allowed to gamble, and we know some people will drive down to Iowa across the border to gamble, and that does seem to be a poor use of resources to have somebody travel an hour and a half.
An hour and a half. It's 8 miles from my house. Yeah. Just throwing it out there. One last thing, just quick, because we got 30 seconds each. Attorney General Keith Ellison has got a lawsuit against Fleet Farm about them selling guns to straw buyers. For folks who don't know, straw buyers buy guns legally and then give them to people who can't have them. You guys are a couple attorneys, 30 seconds each. How is Fleet Farm going to be held accountable for bad person going and buying a gun and give it to an even worse person? Steve, are they really liable for that?
I'm going to defer to Nick on that. I don't follow. I mean, okay. I guess I wasn't even aware of that particular lawsuit, but it's always a very dicey area of essentially holding somebody accountable for someone else's bad actions. And that's always a slippery slope.
30 seconds, Senator.
Yeah, Steve's right. Retailers can be held accountable in limited situations when they basically show negligence. This action says Fleet Farm should have known. And I guess I would say I'm not as intimately familiar with the facts. We're having a discussion about gun safety and gun violence. I'm actually having some meetings this week about the discussion of special session. We'll talk about that. But long story short, that's a part of our conversation. Let's be careful.
We're out of time, boys. Appreciate you both. Senator Nick, Frentz, Steve Fink, appreciate you being here. We'll do it again. We got lots to talk about.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Good to see you, Nick. I like the